Well, kia ora, good afternoon everybody. New Zealand is full of grief today, and what has happened here is an absolute tragedy. I've had the immense privilege really to actually sit and meet with family members who've lost loved ones here, those that are waiting for their loved ones to be accounted for and are missing, they are grieving incredibly hard, and I know that New Zealand grieves with them, and I've passed that sentiment to each and every one of the family members and friends that are here waiting. I want to say a very big thank you to all the first responders, the response and the leadership from FENZ and from police, but also our local emergency teams, our NEMA, our mayors, our minister, our marae have done a phenomenal job across Northland in particular and around and right throughout the country. But so have our local surf clubs, and everybody has been amazing. I've come and visited people that have been impacted by slips, and you see neighbours just actually going off, and friends of friends of friends actually going to someone's house to actually help clear with spades and buckets the debris and the slips that have happened. And so I just want to say, it's something inspiring to see community members reaching out to their fellow neighbours and actually supporting them in really difficult and very tough times. Obviously, we still have a series of challenges across the country. Yesterday, I spoke to all of the mayors across the country in the 5 regions where we have local state emergencies still in place. Our real challenges are continuing to be around road access, in particular to some isolated communities. Secondarily, some slips where we actually find 2 or 3 days after the heavy rains have been is where the risk of a slip takes place. And then thirdly, a lot of still flooding issues to work our way through as well. At this stage, a lot of our focus, as you've seen here overnight and today, continues to be a search and rescue mission. Obviously, we're still very much in the response stage across the country, but in the next 2 days, obviously councils will make their assessments as to what more support or resources are needed in order to recover. We as a government stand ready for that. In fact, our agencies have been involved from the very beginning, but again, we need to let that assessment come forward before we can actually work out what else is needed. But we are very committed to actually make sure that these communities get the support that they desperately need. I'm going to pass off to David from FENZ and then off to Tim from police, and then we can open up some questions after that if that's okay. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. First of all, I want to acknowledge the communities and families that have been so affected by this tragic event from Northland through to Auckland, Coromandel, Tairāwhiti and of course Bay of Plenty. Our crews of fire emergency people, including USAR and specialist water rescue teams, have worked tirelessly within the communities that they were deployed to assist those communities in time of need. Things are starting to wind down across the rest of the country, but of course our attention is very much focused on the event that still runs here, which as far as we're concerned, this is a rescue event. We're working in complete conjunction with police over this, and I just want to thank also all of the contractors that have obviously been brought in to assist us with this event, as well as other volunteer agencies that are supporting emergency service workers to sustain the effort that we're putting in here. So in closing at this point, I'd just like to make the point that we are committed to being here throughout this process until we come to a satisfactory conclusion. Thank you.
Thanks, Prime Minister. Good afternoon. Like David, I just want to acknowledge the support of the community here. The support to police and different agencies here has been overwhelming. Also from the different hapu and iwi here, we're working closely with them, and the tangata whenua, and really appreciate their assistance as well. Our police staff have been flown in from around the country. We have some of the best police staff here you could imagine in terms of the different phases that are required for this sort of piece of work. I can say in terms of numbers that are currently unaccounted for, we have 6 people that we know are unaccounted for, and we have a further list of 3 that we're working through. It's unlikely that those other 3 are within the environs of our scene that we're working with, but we would like the public's information on that. We have posted on our portal through our New Zealand Police website. There is a portal, so anyone that has any cell phone footage, any camera footage, anything like that, they'd like to share with the investigation team, they can go onto the New Zealand Police website now, get hold of that portal and then download their videos and camera footage for there. We would make that appeal now and would very much appreciate that assistance. I can't say too much more about the details other than we have family liaison officers working with the families closely here. It's a very sombre occasion, but we have some of the best staff from around the country here to deal with those sorts of things. We have obviously the support of the Prime Minister, the Minister of Police, and our Commissioner and Deputy Commissioners, so very well supported and thankful for that. Any questions?
Yeah. Sorry, just first of all, I mean, the 6 that are confirmed unaccounted for, the other 3 are those people who are on the list who may have been checked in here at the time, that you're trying to contact them?
Yeah, that's right. So that list was about 10 as of this morning. We'd worked through a whole lot through. We've discounted the 7. I should say that out of those 3, it's unlikely that they're pretty much international tourists, would have departed the area, and we don't believe they're here, but we still got to do that inquiry.
Is there a chance that more people will be found alive? How confident are you on this?
Look, if you look overseas, there's been a matter of days where people have been rescued. This is, as you've heard from Fire, very much a rescue operation still, and that's where we're at. Yeah.
And do you have a typical window of opportunity before this is a recovery operation, before it changes over?
Well, that's to be decided in the coming days, but what we can say, we're working 24/7. You might see the fire staff, the urban search and rescue working tirelessly, as are the contractors. They're working through last night, they're working through tonight. I think we're due for some bad weather tomorrow, so we'll have to assess it sort of hour by hour, but what I can say is we're leaving no stone unturned. We have every staff member, every resource required, and it's quite a humbling and a privilege to observe it. I know the Prime Minister's just been through there, and absolutely outstanding work being done.
So for the next few days, this will continue to be a rescue operation for the next few days, do you think?
Well, that's to be determined by day.
Have there been any positive signs that there might be people alive under there?
Not as of today, but we live in hope. Yeah.
The Prime Minister said New Zealand is grieving, and you say it's a rescue mission rather than a recovery mission. Is there any sense of how many bodies or people have come out? What do we have in terms of knowing what's happening in there?
Well, we've actually had obviously 2 people have been, we've at Welcome Bay we've talked about that. I've met with a number of families, and what I was saying again is that there is high anxiety, there is grief, they are deeply distressed, they're understandably so, and so what I can, despite the sadness, despite the somberness, despite the tragedy that we're all going through here, I'm incredibly impressed just by the absolute professionalism of New Zealanders that have come together here. The join up between the national central government and also local government has been outstanding, and it's not just here, it's actually in the other centres, as I've spoken to leaders across the different regions as well. But we've got teams there that have come from all over New Zealand to be here today as part of search and rescue, and they're working 24/7 and they're going for it. They're going through a shift changeover right now, and they're deeply committed to do everything they can to find these loved ones.
Been rescued?
Again, I'll let the police and search and rescue talk about the details of our operation here.
In that list of 6 plus 3,
Sorry?
In that list of 6 plus 3, are you able to tell us how many are Kiwis and how many are internationals?
No, I can't go into that detail right now, other than to say there has been, I think, speculation or discussion around children. The youngest ages are 15 years of age, so we're talking about youth or young people or teenagers.
Just one teenager? Or
Two.
Are they from the same family?
Look, I can't go into any more detail than that today. That's all I can give you.
When those are foreigners involved, what kind of support is being offered to them specifically?
Yeah, look, what I can say in the Welcome Bay matter where we recovered 2 deceased, unfortunately, one of those persons was a Chinese national. So in that case, we're working with the relevant embassy or ambassadors. MFAT are doing all that work as well and behind the scenes. So that all takes place as of course in terms of the way we progress these
We
things.
know, Tim, that at around 5 a.m. there was someone who came into the campground, and maybe Mahi can assist with this, who was trying to get people out. Do you know why precisely at 5 a.m. that person would have been doing it? Because she is credited with saving a lot of lives, and it makes you wonder why people weren't all out earlier.
Yeah, I'll let the Mayor speak to that in a minute, but what I can say is the investigation into this is very wide, and so those aspects would be part of the investigation.
Prime Minister, have those families been able to...
I'll let Mahi if you want to add to that.
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. Look, there is a lot of questions to be answered, and we are determined to answer those questions. As you, I'm sure, can be aware, at the moment our focus is very much on finding those unaccounted for people. So I can just assure you that we will answer those questions. We'll go through a proper process. It will be public. That we answer all those questions and understand how we got to the situation we've got to now.
At 5 a.m. were there already signs of the mountain slipping?
Our indicative answer is we've heard there was possibly a small slip where people did move away from the site.
Will the campsite be held responsible for not evacuating the campsite?
Look, those questions will be answered. As I said, I'll give you a commitment that they will be answered. It's just right now our focus is on emergency services, supporting them and supporting those families. You can, I'm sure, can appreciate there's families of 6 people around the area at the moment that are waiting for the return of their loved ones, and that is our focus.
How many families are actually involved here? Can we get some clarity around that?
Well, you've heard the police talk to the fact that there are 6 families that are really involved, or six people that they are looking for. There's a number of families involved.
The number of families, is that several? Is that?
Oh look, I won't go into numbers. I didn't. I met the families that I was able to meet with today, and they're all dealing with in some cases huge amount of grief, and others huge amount of anxiety, waiting for the recovery of their loved one and the finding of their loved one.
Are they able to come back to the site at all?
There's a number of them. There's very good management happening with police liaison around the family members. I've been really super impressed by the police. Again, a lot of the families wanted to play back the support that they've all felt from the community and from the first responders and from the police and from fire, and the work that search and rescue are doing as well. So, I think we can be incredibly. I appreciate there'll be lots of different questions that people will have. There'll be time for that, but for right now, we need to focus on a search and rescue mission. We need to make sure that our first responders are on the way.
To come today rather than yesterday.
Yesterday was, we were dealing. I don't want to get in the way of actually the work that needs to happen immediately. I've come as quickly as I possibly can. Yesterday I spent most of my time on the phone talking to all the mayors across the 5 regions that we have across the country that are impacted with local states of emergency. Today I've already come into Thames, I've gone to Taurua, I'm here in Tauranga, and I'm heading now to Taurawhiti, obviously next. It's just picking the right time when actually I don't become a burden or a distraction for the resources that actually I want focused on rescue. Sorry, Michael. Yeah.
As Prime Minister, Chris, do you think that there are questions that definitely need to be asked of what's transpired here? Because I've spoken to a camper who managed to get out with his life, who says he cannot believe that people were still camping out there, and he cannot believe that no one came and told them to get out. Yeah, look,
there'll be 2 things that'll happen. I mean, after all of these tragedies and also these emergencies, we do an after-action review, and we say, are there things that we have learned in our response that we can do better across the whole of the country? That will happen. And I am actually very, very proud of the fact that we have had a series of events, often 5 years apart, and our response has got better and better. And the join up and the focus that Mark and I have in particular on making sure that we've got the emergency management response system in place, working in the way that it should, that's one piece of work. That's just a natural piece of work to say, is there anything else we've learnt, anything that we should do better differently or build into our operating process going forward? So we keep continually improving it. On the other hand, with respect to the specifics here at the campground, you've heard Mahi say there'll be obviously a review that will take place, and he's committed to do that in a very public way.
What financial support is the government going to offer to weather-affected communities?
Look, that will all be determined. We've actually had a lot of our agencies like MSD and MPI ready to go from day one. They've been working with the welfare teams and the local emergency management response units across the country. We've obviously got others like IRD and a number of government agencies, up to 15 actually, that then are involved in also recovery as well. But at this point, across the country, we still have isolated communities, we have road access issues, we still have slip risks, and obviously we're dealing with some flooding in different places. So over the next 48 hours, the mayors and the councils will make their assessments, and all I'm signalling to them right from day one, and the fact that Mark Mitchell has been on the ground all week in the different places in the 5 different regions in close contact with those mayors. That's sort of how we work together and have been working together over the last 2 years, so that we're ready to stand with whatever they need and support them with whatever they need. But until they do that assessment, we've got to do the response piece first, and then we'll move to recovery.
2 more questions, guys.
To Mayoral Relief Funds at the start without needing approval of Cabinet. How come you haven't done that?
Well, again, those are decisions that are, again, as to exactly what's being triggered or what's being asked for by councils. There's no stopping of funds flowing out from central government. We are, I think when you go talk to mayors, and I think you talk to the local organisations and leadership, you'll see that there's been a very good join up. It's just a question of actually making sure that they can access, that we know what they want, and we can get what they need fast and get it out the door quickly. And we've already talked about that this morning with NEMA as well, and there's very strong commitment. So I think all the right intention, I think the right join ups there, I think the right processes are in place. We just need to, in fairness, you've still got some response scenarios happening across the country, and we want those limited resources to be very focused on what they need to do, and then we'll move to assessment.
Last one, guys, got to go.
Sorry?
Can we get a recap of the details from the Mt Maunganui situation very clearly of what has happened, what's been able to be removed, numbers of people, just really clearly.
And if anyone's been,
if anyone has been recovered, we haven't got clarity on that yet.
If you want to talk to Chris here.
Look, just an answer to that. We can't talk at this stage about persons being recovered. We're in the middle of a rescue operation, and it would be insensitive on families, etc., for us to talk about that openly within the public arena at the moment. So when the time is right, that information will become more public. In terms of our operation, as I mentioned earlier, we are very definitely continuing to treat this as a rescue operation. That's the way we're operating. As I mentioned, the urban search and rescue crews, of which we have 25 personnel on the site, working with the contractors and their diggers and police dogs, police operations as well, to ensure that every inch of soil and debris that is removed from the site is worked through, and we do the best we can. So
we won't know anything until everyone is out.
Yeah.
There was a hearse that came and went this morning. Is there a reason for that?
I'm not aware of that, sorry. I
Prime
can't.
Minister, just one more quickly. On Welcome Day, there's reports that a grandmother and a grandson were those 2 that killed, obviously, the Chinese embassy tweeted as well. Today, acknowledging the death of 2 Chinese nationals. Can we confirm that? What do you know about that?
Well, I'll let police talk to that. We can confirm that. But again, we are wanting to be very respectful of families here, and I appreciate from a media point of view, you're hungry for information. We're releasing as much information as we can with what we know at the right time, but we're also managing the sensitivities of families, and you would appreciate that it's pretty fair that actually we do right by those families and make sure that we let them process information, we let them actually know and make sure they're getting the support that they need, and then when we can confirm, we will confirm.
And just clarity,
sorry?
Last one, guys, we've got to get together.
What are your personal reflections, Prime Minister, on spending time with those family members?
Oh, it's incredibly humbling and a huge privilege, to be honest. You see people that were actually, in bed and then got rocked by a slip. You see people who, I've seen flood events, I've seen slip events.
But how are they coping knowing that their family members are still buried beneath?
A range of emotions. Everyone's, they're clearly, highly anxious, clearly hopeful. It's like everything in terms of grief, it's hitting people in different waves. There's massive hope, there's massive worry, concern, but every individual that I spoke to is handling it in slightly different ways, as you would expect. And so, all we can do is make sure that we're offering the very best support to those families, and I feel very confident that we are. I think, when I look at, and I've spoken with their police liaison officers I've often met with the police liaison and the family, and they are just so proud of or want me to know that actually the response has been very, very good, and they're feeling very supported in what is a terrible time, a tragic time, an incredibly worrying and highly anxious time.
All right, thanks guys, we've got to go.
Can we just confirm that that was in Papamoa or Welcome Bay? Can we just get some clarity around that? Because obviously there's lots of...
I'm not going to confirm. I'll let the police and FENS confirm what they can confirm at this time.
Coromandel quickly, we haven't touched on that at all, just how bad things look there and whether you think that possibly there's more money needed for government roading resilience?
Well, again, that's the conversation that we'll have. We have, in Coromandel, each region's got a slightly different set of challenges. Theirs is actually a ring road and a road resilience, and as you say, isolated local communities. Again, there's a lot of work going on clearing slips, making pathways through so we can get to isolated communities, and by and large that has happened. But again, the ongoing work, as you've seen on State Highway 25 after Gabrielle and the North Island weather events, where there's been a massive amount of resilience and really good infrastructure put in place, has actually stood up well. We've got to continue that work, and we know we've got a lot of work to do on building more resilience into our core infrastructure across the whole of the country. But we'll make that assessment once the assessment of damage to roads and where they actually sit is made in the next few days.
All right, thanks very much, guys.
Thanks so much.
The soil?